Hi, my name is Scott Kelly. I'm an innovator and entrepreneur. My firm, Black Dog Venture Partners, consults and advises disruptive startups in ways to manage their growth of their company, raise money for their capital for their company, and then eventually find an exit for their company. Well, I do what I do because honestly, I love being an entrepreneur and I love working with entrepreneurs. I've been fortunate in my own life to grow several companies from my spare bedroom to trading on the NASDAQ. And being a part of helping other entrepreneurs do the same thing is why I get up in the morning. I would tell you, for any new entrepreneur, that they need to be willing to change and adapt and willing not to give up. I find more cases than not, an entrepreneur is a slight pivot away or a couple of months away from succeeding. And the ability to be flexible and understand the market and be able to make those changes is what being an entrepreneur is all about. My perfect day is get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee in my Penn State coffee mug, and then wake up my two boys, get them off to school, go to my office and spend most of my day in meetings or phone calls, working on deals, and then go home and either coaching my son's football lacrosse team or working with my older son on his college applications. Well, I think innovation is about taking what's out there already and making it better. I think a lot of times people want to try to invent something new, but there's always an opportunity to innovate something that's old. And I think to the extent that entrepreneurs can find new means to provide new opportunities to innovate is important. Well, in my experience, companies today get started and funded through a lot of means. I think, first of all, you have to start with an entrepreneur spirit, but once you have that, there are plenty of opportunities to get help through incubators, co-working spaces, accelerators, mentorship and entrepreneur programs at a lot of colleges and universities. But then the funding part is really the challenge. And I find more often than not, companies have to have a very good view of what the goal they're trying to accomplish, make sure they're prepared with their pitch deck and other documentation. And then quite honestly, like anything in sales, they have to talk to a lot of people. Raising money is simply a numbers game. You have to talk to a lot of people to get them to be as interested in your vision as you are, and then ultimately finance it. Most of my work is, quite frankly, either making investments or advising entrepreneurs. So the business is really geared towards consulting, advising, and then providing them my relationships and my contacts to help them succeed. We do that through a number of means. One, through my relationships of 30 years of raising money for companies and growing companies. But then I also host a series of angel capital pitch events around the Southwest geared towards putting entrepreneurs in front of investors. Well, I was fortunate enough to meet Crowd Mike's a couple of years ago. I've been hosting a series of venture capital events, as I mentioned. Our first event was in Phoenix, Arizona, about 2.5 years ago. And Crowd Mike's presented at our event. We have a 1-minute rapid pitch. They pitched for 1 minute. Got some quick Q&A from one of the investors. Eventually had lunch that day with David Keene from Sand Hill Angels, a Silicon Valley angel. They were invited up to the Bay Area 2 weeks later, got their first seed investment, and then have raised another seed round since then. So I think you never know what 1 minute can accomplish, but in that particular case, 1 minute provided them the opportunity to grow their business and get the money they need. Well, I think what it means to be an entrepreneur is the willingness to do what others aren't willing to do. I think in my experience, being an entrepreneur gives you the freedom and the creativity to build your own dream and your own goal, as opposed to being an employee and working for someone else. But that's the good news. The bad news is being an entrepreneur isn't always easy. You have to be willing to work long hours, make sacrifices, and do things that other people wouldn't be willing to do. And in all honesty, you have to be willing to fail often and get up one more time than you failed. Well, I think being a startup is really the creation of your idea and how to take that creation, that idea, and turn it into money. Now, obviously, funding gets a lot of press. Raising money gets a lot of high fives and a lot of recognition. But at the end of the day, as soon as you have an investor, you have a partner. And you have a partner that may or may not believe in the same dream you believe in. And I tell entrepreneurs often, one of the best ways to raise money for your company is, quite frankly, sell your product and service. There have been many companies that have grown to be multi-billion-dollar companies without taking a single dollar of outside capital. So I think focus on building a business that makes money, and the funding will find you. Well, my business, where I see it going is really continuing the same thing we're doing now. It's continuing working with innovative companies, helping them grow, helping them build their management teams, helping them raise the money, and then ultimately getting an exit. We're doing this regionally throughout the Southwest. We are going to be moving to some other markets and throughout the country. But the reality is, I think good ideas are geographically agnostic. We go where the great ideas are, and we'd like just to be participating in that. Well, I think the reason why a startup should get involved with us is twofold. One, we have experience. I've taken several companies from concept to exit. I've raised hundreds of millions to billions of dollars in my life. So again, I think the best thing you can get from us is our experience. The second best thing you get is our contacts. And then the third best thing you can get is our results. The platform really starts through a number of means. Like I said, we host a number of angel capital, venture capital pitch events, and that provides an opportunity for you to, one, connect with potential investors, two, practice your pitch, and three, network with other entrepreneurs in the same space. The other part of the process is that we work hands-on. We will work with the company to do everything from creating their pitch deck, preparing their offering documents, to putting together their road shows, to putting them ultimately in front of investors from the funding standpoint. But then also, our team is also very adept at creating reseller relationships, partnership relationships, and other means to grow the business from a revenue standpoint. It always comes back to sales. My 12-year-old tells me every week about him wanting something. So basically yesterday we had our Las Vegas Investor Roundtable. That's the second event I've held here in Las Vegas. We also hold them in Phoenix, Denver, and I'll be launching Salt Lake City later next year. And really the premise is two things. Put entrepreneurs with other entrepreneurs, but more importantly, connect those entrepreneurs with investors that they wouldn't normally meet. So at our event yesterday, we had a number of local investors from Las Vegas and Nevada, but we also had investors from Silicon Valley, Denver, Seattle, and other parts of the country, with the idea of just connecting them. And we had roughly 30 companies pitch for 1 minute. And I've already heard, like yourself, a number of companies. I've already gotten some follow-on meetings with the investors. In fact, this morning I was in 2 meetings with potential investors and companies that pitched yesterday. Next year, we'll actually be announcing our schedule for funding post venture capital pitch events. We'll probably have an event in March, April, and May, and then a couple events back in the fall. And then again, most of our work between now and the end of the year is, in all honesty, processing some of the companies that were interested and putting them back in contact with some of the investors that wanted more information. I've been fortunate to be around a lot of successful people. I got to spend a lot of the 80s and 90s in Silicon Valley and watch many successful companies grow. And I think the idea is as I say in our events, they did the 3 things that I told them to do. They clearly identified a problem that needed to be solved. And then secondly, they just developed a solution that was the best solution to solve that problem. And then thirdly, they found a way to make money solving that problem with their solution. So I think the one thing I've been able to realize is that people have to solve a problem. People want their solutions. They don't necessarily just want to buy anything. And the extent you can innovate and solve a problem or find a new way to solve that problem, that's what I've been fortunate to see, throughout my time in Silicon Valley and even yesterday with some of the innovative companies that pitched. If you're going to become an entrepreneur, I think you have to eventually take that leap. I find a lot of startups and entrepreneurs will work part-time, work full-time, and hope they can build a business, in the spare hours they have left. At some point in time, you have to make that leap. My biggest pet peeve is people that have a good idea but don't have enough confidence in themselves to take that leap. Hi, my name is Scott Kelly. I'm an innovator and entrepreneur.